Australia, known for its breathtaking landscapes, unique wildlife, and vibrant cities, harbors a side that few dare to explore. Beyond the iconic beaches and sprawling outback, in the shadows of this vast continent, lurks something far more sinister. An ancient darkness woven into the fabric of the land itself. Part 1. The Aboriginal Legends. Long before European settlers arrived, the Aboriginal people told stories of dark spirits and malevolent entities that roamed the land. These tales, passed down through generations, spoke of creatures like the Yowie, a towering ape-like beast that haunted the dense forests and mountains of the Great Dividing Range. Unlike the playful bunyip, which was said to dwell in waterholes and billabongs, the Yowie was a creature of malice, with glowing eyes that pierced the night and a hunger that could never be satisfied. The Aboriginal tribes also feared the Min Min lights, mysterious orbs that danced in the distance, luring travelers away from safety and into the desolate outback. Those who followed the lights were said to vanish without a trace, swallowed by the desert, or consumed by an unknown force. Part 2. The Settler's Curse. When European settlers arrived in Australia, they brought with them their own superstitions and fears. However, they quickly learned that the land had its own malevolent presence. In the early days of colonization, convicts and settlers reported encounters with something far more terrifying than the indigenous wildlife. One of the most chilling stories is that of the Black Dog of Bungendore. This spectral hound was said to appear on moonless nights, its eyes burning with a hellish fire. It would stalk lonely travelers, its heavy paws making no sound on the ground. Those who encountered the Black Dog were doomed to die within the week, their bodies found with a look of sheer terror etched onto their faces. In the remote town of Picton, the haunting of the Red Bank Range Tunnel became a well-known tale. Constructed in the 1860s, this tunnel was the site of numerous tragic deaths during its construction, including a young girl named Emily Bollard who was struck by a train. To this day, locals claim to see her ghostly figure wandering the tunnel, searching for a way out of the darkness.
Part 3. The Outback's Malevolent Spirits. The Australian outback, with its endless stretches of barren land, is a place of mystery and danger. Many who venture into this vast wilderness speak of an overwhelming sense of being watched, as if the land itself harbors a malevolent consciousness. One of the most notorious tales is that of the Wittenoom Gorge, where the land is said to be cursed. The town of Wittenoom was once a thriving asbestos mining town, but after the mines were abandoned, the town fell into ruin. Those who have dared to visit the desolate town report seeing shadowy figures lurking in the gorge, whispering voices carried on the wind, and a suffocating sense of dread that drives visitors to flee. In the Simpson Desert, travelers have encountered the Nkankara, or the Fire Devil. This entity is said to manifest as a swirling, fiery whirlwind that moves with a mind of its own. Those caught in its path are said to be consumed by flames, leaving nothing but charred remains. Aboriginal elders warn that the Nkankara is a spirit of vengeance, punishing those who disrespect the land.
Part 4. The Modern Hauntings. Even in the modern age, the dark side of Australia remains. The urban legends and ghost stories continue to grow, with many haunted locations becoming infamous. In Sydney, the historic Quarantine Station on North Head is regarded as one of the most haunted places in the country. During its operation from the 1830s to the 1980s, it housed countless people who were quarantined with deadly diseases. Many of them died within the station's walls, and their restless spirits are said to haunt the buildings to this day. Visitors report seeing shadowy figures, hearing disembodied voices, and feeling sudden drops in temperature. The most disturbing encounters involve the Grim Reaper, a shadowy figure that appears at the foot of people's beds, as if waiting to claim their souls. In the heart of Melbourne, the old Melbourne Jail stands as a chilling reminder of Australia's brutal penal history. This former prison, which once housed some of the country's most notorious criminals, is said to be haunted by the ghosts of those who met their end on the gallows. The most infamous ghost is that of Ned Kelly, Australia's most famous outlaw. Visitors to the jail have Part 5. The Unknown. Despite all the documented encounters and stories, there remains a sense of the unknown when it comes to what lurks in the shadows of Australia. The vastness of the land, much of it unexplored and untouched by modern civilization, leaves much to the imagination. What other creatures, spirits, or forces may exist in the remote corners of this ancient continent? Australia, with its rich history and diverse landscapes, is a land of contrasts. For every sun-drenched beach and bustling city, there is a dark shadow cast by the unknown. It is a place where the past and present collide, where ancient spirits and modern fears intertwine, and where the shadows hold secrets that may never be fully revealed. Epilogue: a warning to the curious. For those who dare to explore the darker side of Australia, be warned. The shadows are deep, and they are not empty. They are filled with the echoes of the past, the spirits of the land, and the unseen forces that have existed long before human footprints marked the soil. What lurks in the shadows of Australia is not just a collection of ghost stories and urban legends. It is a reminder that some mysteries are better left unexplored.
The mid-19th century saw the Australian gold rush, a time of great opportunity and immense suffering. Thousands flocked to the gold fields in search of fortune, but for many, the pursuit of wealth ended in misery, violence, and death. The harsh conditions, rampant disease, and brutal competition among miners left behind a legacy of haunted sites and restless spirits. One of the most notorious locations is the town of Hill End in New South Wales. Once a bustling gold rush town, Hill End is now a ghost town in more ways than one. Abandoned buildings stand as silent witnesses to the past, but it's the unseen that makes Hill End truly eerie. Miners who perished in the dark, unstable tunnels are said to still haunt the area. Visitors often hear the distant clinking of pickaxes or the ghostly cries of men buried alive in cave-ins. Some have reported seeing spectral figures emerging from the old mine shafts covered in dust, their eyes hollow and accusing. In Victoria, the gold rush town of Ballarat is home to another infamous haunting, the Eureka Stockade. This was the site of a bloody battle between gold miners and colonial forces in 1854, an event that left a deep scar on the town. Today, the spirits of those who died in the conflict are said to roam the area. The old Ballarat cemetery is particularly known for ghostly apparitions and strange lights flickering in the night. Visitors have reported the sensation of being watched, as well as the sudden appearance of spectral soldiers in their red coats, forever trapped in the final moments of their ill-fated stand. The Nullarbor Plain, stretching across the southern part of the continent, is one of the most remote and desolate places in Australia. It's a vast, flat, and treeless expanse where the horizon seems to stretch on forever, creating a landscape that feels otherworldly. It's here, in this barren land, that travelers have reported seeing strange, unexplained lights in the sky, phenomena that have come to be known as the Nullarbor Nymph and the Nullarbor Lights. The Nullarbor Nymph is a spectral figure said to appear to truck drivers and travelers who cross the plain at night. Descriptions vary, but many claim to see a glowing, ethereal woman running alongside vehicles or standing in the distance, beckoning them into the darkness. Those who've tried to follow her are often led astray, their vehicles breaking down or becoming lost in the featureless landscape. Some believe the nymph is a lost soul, forever searching for a way out of the wilderness. Even more perplexing are the Nullarbor Lights, which have been reported for decades. These lights appear as glowing orbs that move erratically across the sky, sometimes following vehicles or darting off into the distance. While some speculate that they could be natural phenomena like ball lightning, others are convinced they are something far more sinister, perhaps even extraterrestrial in origin. Those who've seen the lights describe an overwhelming sense of unease, as if they are being watched by something far beyond human understanding. Australia's rugged coastline has always been treacherous, claiming countless ships and lives over the centuries. One of the most infamous maritime legends is the story of the Lost Reef, a cursed stretch of coral that is said to appear and disappear at will, luring ships to their doom. The legend of the Lost Reef dates back to the early 1800s when a group of sailors claimed to have discovered a reef rich in gold off the coast of Western Australia. They tried to map the location, but when they returned with a larger expedition, the reef had vanished. Over the years, numerous ships have reported seeing the reef, only to crash upon its sharp coral edges when they attempted to approach. Survivors of these wrecks often speak of ghostly figures standing on the reef, guiding them to their doom. One of the most famous cases is that of the Batavia, a Dutch East India Company ship that was wrecked on the Abrolhos Islands in 1629. While not directly linked to the Lost Reef, the tragedy that unfolded on the islands, mutiny, murder, and mass execution, has left a dark stain on the area. Divers who explore the wreck of the Batavia often report feeling an oppressive presence, as if the souls of the dead are still trapped in the cold, dark waters.
Part 9. The Haunting of Monte Cristo. Homestead located in the rural town of Junee, New South Wales, Monte Cristo Homestead is often called Australia's most haunted house. Built in 1885, this grand Victorian mansion was the home of the Crawley family, who lived there for several decades. However, the homestead's history is marred by tragedy and death, leading to its reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity. The stories surrounding Monte Cristo are chilling. The Crawley family was said to be strict and cruel, particularly Mrs. Crawley, who reportedly locked a maid in a small room for disobedience, leading to the maid's death from starvation. Another story tells of a stable boy who was burned to death when his employer set fire to the stables. The homestead was also the site of a murder in 1961, when a caretaker was shot on the premises. Visitors to Monte Cristo have reported seeing ghostly figures, hearing disembodied voices, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. The most common apparition is that of Mrs. Crawley herself, who is said to haunt the house, eternally watching over her domain. Part 10. The Forgotten Corners of the Bush. Australia's vast bushland is a place of isolation where even the bravest can lose their way. It's here, in the dense forests and scrub, that some of the most mysterious and unsettling stories originate. The bush is a place where time seems to stand still, where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur, and where ancient spirits still roam. One of the most haunting tales is that of the Pilliga Scrub in New South Wales. The Pilliga is a sprawling forest, dense and difficult to navigate, with a reputation for being a place of strange occurrences. Travelers who pass through the Pilliga often speak of feeling a presence watching them, hearing footsteps in the underbrush when no one is there, or seeing shadowy figures darting between the trees. The most terrifying encounters involve the Pilliga Yowie, a creature similar to the Yowie of the Great Dividing Range, but with an even more fearsome reputation. The Pilliga Yowie is said to be larger and more aggressive, known to attack those who venture too deep into its territory.
Conclusion. A land of mysteries. Australia is a land of contrasts, a place where the beauty of nature is matched by the darkness that lurks in its shadows. From the haunted halls of old homesteads to the desolate expanse of the outback, from ancient Aboriginal legends to modern ghost stories, the continent is rich with tales of the unknown. These stories serve as a reminder that, despite all our advances, there are still places in the world where the old fears remain, where the shadows hold secrets that defy explanation. For those who dare to explore the darker side of Australia, the land offers no promises of safety or understanding. The shadows may hide the answers to the mysteries of the past, but they also conceal dangers that are best left undisturbed. Whether it's the restless spirits of the gold rush, the ghostly lights of the Nullarbor, or the malevolent entities that stalk the bush, one thing is certain: Australia is a land where the shadows are never empty. As the saying goes, in Australia, the land remembers. It remembers the blood, the pain, the loss, and it keeps the memories close, hidden in the shadows, waiting for those who dare to look too closely.